Hey guys, welcome back to Arcade Madness Devlog 3. And so let's just get started. The Space Rocks game, as we left it, the asteroids would unfortunately just go off the screen. We've made it so that they come back up to the top now, so that the game, doesn't just stop. I cleaned up the ship some. One of the important things was to fix the collision masks on both the ship and also the asteroids, because it wasn't very accurate. So for the ship, I turned it into a diamond, and for the asteroids, I turned those into circles. I think that's much better. Then, of course, if you have collision masks, you have to have actual collision detection. So I put that in. However, instead of dealing with the collisions as they happen, I've made it so that the collisions are recorded in a DS list in the player object. The reason for this is that each minigame would deal with collisions differently. And so I don't want to hard code a bunch of stuff into an object because the collisions might not work for everything. For example, bullets. Right now, the bullets blow up the asteroids. However, in a different minigame, bullets may actually have an effect on a player. And so I just feel like putting the collisions into a list to be dealt with by the minigame step function, that's probably the best way to go. And so that all works pretty well. I will be adding more to this, but this is just the basic gameplay. And now I really want to move on to the Maze Escape game, which is the one I've been pretty excited to get back to. So, of course, we got to start out by building the minigame object. I'm just copying a bunch of code across, basically, just to get it rolling. The way that I look at a maze is that it's effectively a grid of cells, and each cell has a top, bottom, left, or right wall. And so, in this case, we're going to use a DS grid. And I think DS just stands for data structure, but yeah, DS grid. And each cell will have, a number that's representing binary. So where like 1 will be up, 2 will be down, 4 will be left, and 8 will be right. Something along those lines. And then with that DS grid, we can build an algorithm that can actually build out a maze. The algorithm basically just starts at a cell and looks to see which direction it can move in. So, up, down, left, right. Are any of these places that I haven't been yet? And if it can, it picks one at random and moves there. And it keeps doing that until it gets to a point at which it can't move up, down, left, or right. And then it realizes, okay, now I'm going to backtrack cell by cell until it can find a new direction to move. And it just keeps doing that until eventually it backtracks right back to the beginning. And, that's when it ends. It's very simple. It works really well. There's things you can do to fine-tune it, but right now it just starts from the left middle and, builds out. So that's pretty cool. I actually made it so that the algorithm operates over many frames rather than just building out an entire maze at the beginning, because I think it's kind of cool to see the maze as it's constructed. And so you can see the algorithm works. The next part that I built was a box, because I want everyone to start inside of that box instead of starting in random locations in the maze, because that wouldn't really be fair. And as you can tell, the player is currently able to walk outside of that box because it isn't detecting the walls. So I built in the code to physically restrain the player when there's a wall, and that works real well. You'll notice that there's a little opening in the starting box to the right-hand side. The idea is that when you walk through this, it builds out the first maze segment. And I think this looks really cool. By highlighting the last cell that the algorithm has created, it gives you this really cool visual effect where you see the maze being created and you can actually see, what step the algorithm is currently in. I love it. So I'm pretty happy with the progress so far. The next step would be to make it so that you can exit the red maze on the right-hand side to then build out a new maze segment. And when that happens, obviously, you would be beyond the width of the screen, which means that you would need to scroll the screen, which could potentially mean that players get knocked off the screen, and that is how you can die. But that is for another episode. I think I've got enough done in this one. This took about 2 hours, so yeah. Anyway, if you like this video, like it, consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next devlog. Thanks, bye.